Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka, Lalita Vishaka, Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka, Lalita Vishaka, Shri Radhe. Jaya Goranita, Goranitai, Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Acharya. Slow Saraswati Srimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchayvam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamurdayat Nasaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavatutam Ashloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishlaki. Good morning, dear devotees, dear friends. I am filling in today for Hari Chakra Prabhu, who is in Guyana, preaching with his family and many other wonderful devotees. And so I learned today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 7, chapter 10. And we're reading text 49. And before we start reading, I wanted to just say a quiet prayer for Tarka Prabhu when we opened the screen today, I had a glimpse of him lying on his bed, and he is taking oxygen right now. And it was really, as I watched him, I was thinking, wow, birth and death, and taking care of our bodies, while we're here on this planet, and how important it is, yeah, to see devotees and pray for devotees. So, Darka Prabhu, and taking a quiet moment, praying to Srila Prabhupada. Ooh, Krishna. Haribol, Hare Krishna. So we're reading text number 49. Okay. Savayam Brahma Mahat Vimrikya Kaivalya Nivano Shukanu Bibhi I'm sorry. Kaivalya Nirvana Shukhanu Bhutihi Priya Suridva Kalumutulena Atmar Haniyo Vidhi Krid Guruscha. I'm going to read that again. Savayam Brahma Mahad Vimrigya Kaivalya Nirvana Shukhanu Bhutihi Priya Suridva Kalu Matuleya Atmar Haniyo Vidhi Krid Kuruscha Sava Ayam Brahma Mahadvimirkya Kaivalya Nirvana Shukhanu Bhutihi Priya Shuridva Kalu Matuleya Atmar Haniyo Vidhi Krid Guruscha. So I think you ask here if anyone would like to chant. And I don't think Tarka, he's on his
Hare Krishna.
eyeball.
Sava ayam Brahma mahad vimrigya kaivalya nirvana sukhan ubhutihi priya suhrid va kalu matuleya admarjaniyo virikrid gurushcha.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I usually post the verse in the chat. I'm sorry I couldn't do it today. I'm having trouble with my computer.
No worries, Prabhu. It's okay. We're good. We're good. Thank you so much.
Seva ayam Brahma Maharvinkya Kaivya Nirvana Sukhanubhuti Priyaha Shudva Kalu Matuleya Atmarhanyo Vidikri Guruscha.
Thank you, Lila Kishore. Okay, so the synonyms, Saha, that, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Va, also, I am this, Brahma, the impersonal Brahman, which is an emanation from Krishna, Mahat, by great personalities, Vimrigya, search for, Kaivalya, oneness, Nirvana Shukha, of transcendental happiness, Anubuddhi, the source of practical experience, Priya, very, very dear, Suhrit, well-wisher, Vaha, of you, Kalu, indeed, Matu Le Yaha, the son of a maternal uncle, Atma, exactly like body and soul together. Ahaniya, worshipable, because he is the personality of Godhead. Vidhikrit, yet he serves as you, an order carrier. Guru, your supreme advisor. Cha, as well. Srila Prabhupada's translation. The impersonal Brahman is Krishna himself, because Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman. He is the origin of the transcendental bliss sought by great saintly persons. Yet he, the Supreme Person, is your most dear friend and constant well-wisher, and is intimately related to you as the son of your maternal uncle. Indeed, he's always like your body and soul. He's worshipable, yet he acts as your servant and sometimes as your spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada's purport. There's always a difference of opinion about the absolute truth. One class of transcendentalists concludes that the absolute truth is impersonal, and another class concludes that the absolute truth is a person. In Bhagavad Gita, the absolute truth is accepted as the Supreme Person. Indeed, that Supreme Person himself, Lord Krishna, instructs in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham mata parantaram nanyat. The impersonal Brahman is my partial manifestation, and there is no truth superior to me. That same Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, acted as the supreme friend and relative of the Pandavas. Sometimes he even acted as their servant by carrying a letter from the Pandavas to Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, because Krishna was the well-wisher of the Pandavas. He also acted as guru by becoming the spiritual master of Arjuna. Arjuna accepted Krishna as his spiritual master, Shishyashteham siddhi mam tvam prapanam, and Krishna sometimes chastised him. For example, the Lord said, Asocyan antasochas tvam prajna vadam chabashashe. While speaking learned words, you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. The Lord also said, Kutus tvav kashmalam idam vishame samupashtitam. My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? Such was the intimate relationship between the Pandavas and Krishna. In that way, a pure devotee of the Lord is always with Krishna through thick and thin, and his way of life is Krishna. This is the statement of the authority of Sri Narada Muni. Om Ganati Mirandasya Gana Shalakaya Chakshu Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Raghu Lalita Shri Vishakam Bhutamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namade Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Sanyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swaminiti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Haribol, dear devotees. So we're continuing with this wonderful conversation with Narada Muni to Yudhishthira Maharaj in this pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. And at this time, we're hearing about the different aspects of Krishna, the impersonal Brahman, who is Krishna himself, and Krishna, he is the source of the impersonal Brahman. So it's nice in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that there are two types of transcendentalists. And one type of transcendentalists understand Krishna as the supreme Brahman. And another understand Krishna, or he understand that Krishna is the source of this impersonal Brahman. And these are all really beautiful Bhagavad Gita verses. And I thought I would just share some of those verses to, just to kind of validate these statements that's being made here to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Narada Muni is reminding Yudhishthira Maharaj of who he is, who are the Pandavas, this very intimate relationship that the Pandavas have with Krishna. He's sharing about how her personal that relationship is, how intimate that relationship is, and how Krishna acts in different ways with the Pandavas. And so we hear about that more from Srila Prabhupada as he speaks in the purport. He gives us such amazing examples of how the roles that Krishna plays with the Pandavas. And so there's a few Bhagavad Gita verses just to get that foundational understanding of this first statement. The impersonal Brahman is Krishna himself. So Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter says, Aham sarvasha prabhavo mata sarvam pavartate, meaning that Krishna, he himself says that he's the origin of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from him. And this also correlates very much with this Bhagavatam verse, that he's the ultimate truth. And that great people are, great personalities, great sages are trying to understand this absolute truth. And then also in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 14:27, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna says again, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. And this verse also is confirmed here that the absolute truth is Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. The impersonal Brahman is just a manifestation of this absolute truth, this person, Krishna. As I was reading this verse last night, I was just kind of meditating on how personal this relationship is with Krishna and the Pandavas, because they get a chance, to be with Krishna in all kinds of situations. They get a chance to see Krishna as their friend. They get a chance to experience Krishna as their relative. A part of the purport, Prabhupada mentions that he is he's acting as a servant, that Krishna is acting as a servant with the Pandavas, and that he's acting as a guru, he's acting as a spiritual teacher, and then also he's in the family, right? He's the cousin. He's one of the one of the cousins of his auntie Kukunti is related to a Vasudeva, I believe. So he's in that family. And so it's quite interesting, this relationship that the Pandavas have with Krishna. As Prabhupada says, as the friend, he's the ultimate friend. So here again, Bhagavad Gita is explaining how Krishna, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, he says that Krishna is, he says he's the well-wisher of all living entities. And anyone, whoever reciprocates with him, whoever is offering themselves to him, then the Lord lovingly reciprocates as a dear friend, and especially to Arjuna. He acted as a friend to all of the Pandava, all the members of the Pandava family. He was like a friend. Of course, we know that about Bhagavad Gita, the specifics is foundational for us in terms of understanding that pastime, Battle of Kurukshetra. There is emphasis on Arjuna and Krishna. The dialogue, the conversation is going on with Arjuna and Krishna to fight. However, everyone fought that battle, as we all know. And then this next relationship, these are intimate relationships that the Lord himself, the person, is having with his devotees. He's also acting as the supreme teacher. So we know that Krishna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita at 4:11, he says, Ye yatamam prapadyante. So the Lord is guiding, right? He's guide and he's rewarding everyone according to their surrender. And so in this way, because Arjuna is teaching us about how to surrender, Krishna is acting as his teacher. He's guiding him. And so Srila Prabhupada explains this to be like a paradox, in the sense that how is it that Krishna is having all these different relationships with the Pandavas? And Prabhupada says this can be understood by this terminology. I was sharing this in our CC class the other day, that one thing when I was a new devotee, we had classes by Dravida Prabhu every day. And one of the things I always remember Dravida saying, it was our nectar of devotion class every morning at 55th Street Temple in New York. And Dravida Prabhu would always say, there's one thing that you always remember in understanding Krishna's philosophy, or the philosophy of bhakti. He said it's important to remember Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. And I think, I'm not so good with Sanskrit, but I always remember that. I always remember some Sanskrit terminologies, Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. So yes, Krishna, he can act in any way that he wants. He could do whatever he wants. He's God, of course. And so he has all these different relationships with the Pandavas to show us that, yeah, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so many times, we hear there are many people. I mean, there are probably more people in the world that are not practicing bhakti than are. There are probably more people in the world that believe in the impersonal Brahman than believe in bhakti, the personality of Krishna, right? Who we understand through the process of bhakti. So for these persons, many, especially in India, I experienced that personally, but actually I experienced it in Africa in the early days when we were sent there to open temples. A lot of the people that were coming were Indian bodies. They were in Indian bodies. And they were they were following this Advaita philosophy, Advaitism. And that philosophy is based on impersonal Brahman. And not me, because I wasn't so much I wasn't like involved in being like any kind of a scholar. I was simply trying to connect with the people there and trying to feed them and things like that, doing the practical things. But we had people that were like scholars. And so they used to get into all these different debates about the impersonal and the personal. And early in my Krishna conscious life in Africa, I realized, okay, these people are very committed, to what they believe, and they come up with all kinds of sastra, to validate the impersonal aspect of the Lord. They had no inclination, no desire to want to know the personal form of the Lord. It's, I mean, there are people that are innocent, that are so-called impersonalists, that are eager to understand it once they hear something about some aspect of the personality of the Lord. They become more interested and they become more desirous to learn more. However, there is a class of people that are impersonalists, that they're very happy in understanding that part of that philosophy, because there is philosophical understanding of the impersonal Brahman, and they accept that as their life and soul. And so there's not much that can change those persons. Of course, yes, Prashadam always does that, and very healthy association, loving, caring association. However, the thing that became clearer to me later as years went on is that the impersonal aspect of the Lord is simply a part of the Lord. It's the emanation of the Lord. It's the light of the Lord, the body of the Lord. And these people, unfortunately, did not understand that and could not understand that and did not want to understand that. And so this personal relationship is very intimate. It's very personal. It's very, not everybody gets this opportunity to be able to understand these different aspects of the Lord, the Brahman effulgence, Vaikuntha, the Supreme Person in all his activities. There's only the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the mercy of those devotees, those persons that had full faith in Srila Prabhupada, that carried on these messages. That's our great fortune. And so here, Narada Muni is also explaining to Yudhishthira about their great fortune of having Krishna be in their own family as a human. Krishna took on that mood of being a human being with the Pandava family. So this mood is this understanding of this mood of Krishna acting as a friend, or acting as the well-wisher, acting as the supreme teacher, understanding Krishna even as the impersonal Brahman, because he's the source of the impersonal Brahman. This is a very intimate, personal knowledge, very, very intimate, very personal. And only to those who are wanting or taking on this process of bhakti, who are calling on the Lord's holy names, is this process revealed more and more, or the conclusion of this process, or the goal of the process gets revealed as a person chants the holy names of the Lord. And so, Krishna is so kind. He's so kind. Narada Muni is explaining this to Yudhishthira. He's so kind that he takes on these human-like pastimes, for the Pandavas, for this family, for this member of his family. And of course, he does many things. Krishna does many things at the same time, because, he's definitely he advented so that he can assist many, many people. And he advented so that this war could help us to understand what is righteousness and how to act in that mood of being a devotee of the Lord. And so this personalism, I was thinking about a pastime that I really like in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's actually in the Krishna book, and it's a pastime when Nanda Maharaj was taking bath at the Yamuna. And well, he was fasting. It was an Ekadashi or something like that. And he was fasting. He got ready to break his fast. And when he when he went into the Yamuna, it was too early to break the fast. And the servants of Varuna Dev, he's in charge of the water. Um, they they took Nanda Maharaj. They took him away, right? They took him down into the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the waters. It's not ocean, but the waters, the Yamuna. And so there were the devotees. There were devotees out on the bank of the Yamuna that were with Nanda Maharaj, and they got very anxious because Nanda Maharaj was supposed to come up from taking his bath. However, it was taking a long time for him to take his bath. So everyone became so anxious. Actually, Prabhupada explains that some of the gopis were there. Everyone was just really petrified. What's going on? Why isn't Nanda Maharaj coming out of the water? And so they called Krishna. Yes, this is personalism. This is what bhakti is about. When we are in distress of any sort, we can call in Krishna. We can't do that in the impersonal Brahman, right? In the personal Brahman, it's the body of the Lord. It's the rays of the Lord. There's no activity. And so Krishna bhakti means activity. It means loving activities with the Lord. And so here, these residents of Vrindavan, they're call Krishna. Krishna, it's like they're anxious. Your father, he was captured by Varuna. When they don't know exactly who, but he was captured. And so Krishna, he immediately, of course, Krishna knows everything, right? Krishna is the source of everything. He knows everything. So he knew. He said, "Oh, some of Varuna's servants, they're being very impudent." Well, anyway, there's a word that describes when somebody's acting in a way that is like false ego, sort of. Like they're not really understanding who this person is, and they're very, how can I explain? They're very they take this service very seriously, maybe too seriously, of punishing anyone that may in some way act with Yamuna in a way that's not acceptable. And so they thought that Nanda Maharaj taking his bath in Yamuna too early was not acceptable. So they took him, down in the waters. And so when Varuna, so when they're down in the water, Krishna, he said, okay, I got to go down there and get my father. So he did. And when he got down to the bottom of the water, Prabhupada describes it so nicely, so beautifully. I love this pastime because it always makes me meditate on what is on the bottom of the water. How, like anyone that likes the ocean or likes the sea, there's so many beautiful, 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 creatures under the water. And at least I don't often think of them, but when I read pastimes about the water, I think of, what's on the water. And so here Krishna, went down, and of course he's greeted, with opulence of the god of water, Varuna did. And then he's apologies is given for what happened. And of course, Krishna understands. And so he's, he just came to get his father, but he accepts all of the opulence that's being given. He actually, Prabhupada explains he didn't take any of the wealth that was being given to him because he was given all this wealth. This is all going on in the bottom of the water, right? And it's just so sweet. And so anyway, the gist of this pastime is when Krishna came back up from the water with Nanda Maharaj, then all of the residents down on the bank that were horrified and petrified, they like, oh, Krishna, they're so happy to see Krishna, this person, this personality. And Krishna, being Krishna, thought that he would like somewhat play a joke on them. And so Prabhupada, he explains how Krishna, he showed this form, this actually it's not even a form, but he showed the impersonal Brahman. He showed the rays, right, of his body to the residents, the gopis. And so everybody got immersed in this impersonal Brahman because Krishna, he manifested his impersonal Brahman to the residents. So they kind of got covered. And then after that, he manifested his Vaikuntha form for them. And Prabhupada explains that they were very dissatisfied. They're dissatisfied with the effulgence of the Lord, very dissatisfied because there's nothing to do there. And the Vaikuntha, everybody's in awe and reverence, with the Lord. Everybody's worshiping him. He's worshipable. However, in this kind of intimacy, this intimacy that we hear about with the Pandavas, that we read about, how Krishna, he takes on the chariot. He becomes the charioteer for Arjuna, this kind of intimacy of just speaking to Arjuna of course, we know that he chastises Arjuna. Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. However, there's a time in that pastime with Arjuna where he's just listening. He's just kindly listening to Arjuna when Arjuna is expressing why he can't fight this war. And so when Krishna, with these residents of Vrindavan, when he decides to come back to himself, his real form, and Krishna's Stu Bhagavan Swayam, who he is, then all the residents become so happy. They're just so blissful because that's just who they are. They have a personal relationship with the Lord. They have a relationship where when something is going on, they go to him that they don't understand. When these different pastimes, when the cowherd boys are playing with the Lord and these demons come, they go to the Lord, they go to Krishna, they go to that person. And so that's the glories of bhakti. We get this opportunity to be with this person, Krishna. And so we know today is this very auspicious day of the Lord going to rest, right? The Lord is going to take rest. I mean, what impersonal person, what person that believes in the impersonal Brahman would believe that God gets sick and has to take rest, right, for some days. And there are people that has to care for the Lord. The Lord have caregivers. It's not ordinary information. It's very intimate knowledge. Krishna explains that in Confidential Knowledge. That this is it's not for ordinary people. And so those persons that get an opportunity, to practice this process of bhakti, they're so very fortunate. And so, of course, Krishna says, I share that Krishna explains in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that he is the source. He is the source of this Brahman. And the other point that was important in the philosophical understanding of this verse, I like more so the the stories of Krishna and how they relate to these verses, because otherwise it becomes like theology, which is important. Theology is very important. However, what nourishes my soul is to hear how Krishna interacts, with his devotees, and how and what happens when with his devotees, with him. How are they? How, like, for example, in that pastime, I can just imagine, even in ordinary life, if you have a friend and they go down in the water and they take a long time to come back up, you get nervous. So I could just be in that. I could experience that. And so I could just experience or imagine what must that have been like. And then how the Lord, manifested himself in all these different ways, because he's God. He can do that. And so in terms of understanding this philosophically, Prabhupada explains that there are three progressive stages of understanding transcendental realization. There's, of course, the impersonal Brahman, which we understand is Krishna. Krishna is this impersonal Brahman is a manifestation of Krishna. And then there's the super soul in the heart, which is Krishna, the Lord. He lives in the heart as a super soul. And then, of course, the supreme personality of Godhead, which is Bhagavan, which is the person that when we read the Krishna book, we hear all these wonderful, amazing pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, and this kind of interaction, these intimate interactions. And so, because both the Brahman, the impersonal Brahman, and the Paramatma are emanations or forms or aspects of the Lord, then it's important. This let us know that the absolute truth is the ultimate of realizations. And so this absolute truth is what Yudhishthira Maharaj, is being reminded of, that this personality, he's acting as your friend. This personality is like your own body, right? He's just acting as though he's just one of you. However, he isn't. He is and he isn't, simultaneously one and different. He's not just, an ordinary person, even though he acts like an ordinary person. And so this other point about devotion, how it is only through devotion. What is that verse? Anya Bilasita Sunyam, nectar of devotion verse. It is only through the purity of our devotion, giving everything to the Supreme Lord, that we begin to understand more and more and get deeper realizations about this personal aspect of the Lord. And we do that, in our everyday life by hearing these pastimes, reading the Krishna book. I remember once I met with Burjan Prabhu, who is one of my Shiksha gurus. I met with him in Vrindavan, myself and Ekavira Prabhu. And so, he's a Krishna book connoisseur, I must say. And so he was asking me, this was many, many years ago. He says, how many pastimes are there in the Krishna book? And to be honest with you, at that time, I did not remember, or I did not know one out of the two. I don't remember which one it was, but I didn't have the number. I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know. And he said to me, there are 99 pastimes, 99 in the Krishna book, and it's really important to know all 99. And I just remember, thinking about that as the years went on, like trying to think, did I read a pastime recently? Sometimes, we go for periods without reading a pastime about Krishna. And so, yeah, he shared that, even though he was sharing with me and Ekavira, that understanding the philosophy is very important. It's very important. Within the philosophy, though, is the realizations of how Krishna is with his devotees. And so of course, I've taken that to heart, and I try to, somehow in my Krishna conscious life, try, to understand more about that personal, intimate aspect, that intimate relationship, to somehow try to develop that mood, because that's our goal, is to, we're being trained from it. We are asked to have a relationship, a personal relationship with the Lord. And even though we all have some little, maybe some understanding, or I could say I have some little understanding of that, I can enter more into that when I hear the pastimes. I can imagine, oh wow, Krishna. For example, it's in this verse it says that um, that there that's I'm sorry, it's part of the verse that says mm, they're great sages. There are many sages that are they're worshiping this absolute truth. Yeah, I can't remember exactly where Prabhupada says that, but it's in the verse. And I can imagine that. I can imagine the Brahmanas, studying, when I think of the pastime of the Brahmanas and the Brahmanas' wives. And they're the Brahmanas, and they're so sastric and they know so much. But then Krishna had a need, and then they weren't able to fulfill that need. But the Brahmanas' wives were, because they're simple and they're just, wanting to serve Krishna. And you hear the name Krishna, and it's like, yes, what can I do? What can I do? And so that's the mood. That's the mood of the intimate relationship of the Lord with his devotees. And so this is the sweetness of this paradox, of this mood of him having different ways that he interact with the Pandavas, different friends, this and that. And so yeah, I'm going to stop here so that everyone can get a chance to maybe share your realizations. I just want to share one thing about a practical takeaway that I thought for me from this verse is to prioritize, my relationship, with Krishna, prioritize that above everything else, prioritize that very intimate relationship. And even though I don't have it now, I can imagine it, because Prabhupada has given us unlimited pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. And as I saw Tarka Prabhu this morning, I had two different thoughts. One was, oh, Tarka, he's taking his oxygen. He's lying, as he's laying in his bed, he looks like, somebody that's somewhat suffering. However, there was another thought that came. No, Tarka is not suffering, because Tarka is, been given the highest, the greatest, the most wealthy knowledge of all times, and that he is perfectly situated. And this, when I look at as my thoughts went to, the oxygen mask, I just saw the oxygen mask as like, okay, it's like, it's an oxygen mask, but it's not an oxygen mask. It's like he is receiving what appears to be oxygen to be in this world, but really he's not of this world. And so one part of me was joyful, and another part of me was like, oh yeah, maybe that body is going through something, but Tarka himself is absolutely transcendental, and that only comes from being engaged in service, to the Lord, hearing about the Lord, calling the Lord's names, serving the devotees of the Lord. So that's my aspiration. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Okay, please share your realization.
Hare Krishna, Mother Brajalila. I want to thank you for a very nice class. Wonderful to hear Brajalila from Brajalila Dasi in the morning. It's a great way to start the day. Yeah, you delivered a bunch of wonderful pastimes and reminded us of the fact that Krishna is a person and that we can interact with him in a personal way. My own meditation is sometimes removed from this. I tend to think mostly in terms of Srila Prabhupada. I think about his instructions and trying to please him somehow or other by carrying out his instructions. And so, I sometimes forget about Krishna Lila and how wonderful it is to meditate on Krishna's activities and his personal interactions with his devotees and the importance of being conscious of these things. Um, of course, it's important that we we have to please somehow or other our spiritual master without whom we have no access to Krishna's pastimes. But we should also cultivate an understanding of Krishna's pastimes. We should know them. I need to spend more time with my nose in the Krishna book or the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. I get pretty preoccupied with other avenues of service. I've been doing a lot of writing, which works well for me because I can't do much physically. Um, there's all kinds of service that I'd like to do, but it's out of the question now. But I can absorb myself in Krishna consciousness by um, trying to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness or Srila Prabhupada's instructions somehow or other in writing. It means that to express something verbally or in writing, you have to think about it a lot. You have to find the ways and means to express what you want to say. So it becomes an intensive Krishna meditation. The subject matter is non-different from Krishna. So it's very nice. It's a wonderful shelter, and I appreciate your kind words. You are too generous. Um, I I absolutely am not aloof from my bodily situation. I assure you, I am suffering significantly, but um, but I also um, am experiencing a lot of ecstasy in my service. I get so enlivened, so enthused that I have to my wife especially has to fight with me to get me to go to sleep and to get me to do things that I need to do because I can't stop what I'm doing. I just get completely preoccupied. It's very nice, and plenty of suffering is there, but I can say actually that if if I could re-engineer my life, I probably would not change anything because um, I've realized how it really is kind of a blessing. Um, others have all kinds of duties and responsibilities, and so do I. But there's a lot of things that I can't do, and those things can serve as distractions and divert one's attention from Krishna consciousness. So I'm blessed that I have a lot of time to devote to services of reading and writing and just hearing and chanting. It's a blessing. I actually feel like sounds peculiar, but I kind of would rather be ill than healthy, because if I was healthy, I would be expected to do a lot of other things. And so now I have a kind of a valid excuse for just hearing and chanting, and I appreciate that. I feel like it's a huge blessing. I feel like I am more fortunate than a lot of other people. Um, anyway, I was delighted to hear a little Krishna Lila this morning, and I appreciate your reflections on this verse in Srila Prabhupada's purport. Um, you mentioned what was the verse? Oh, Krishna, I can't remember now. What did you say? You mentioned oh, was it Brahmano? He Pratishtaham.
Yes,
Yeah,
1427.
yes. Right, 1427. Yeah, wonderful verse. Also, the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions what is the other verse that he mentioned? Um, I think he mentioned Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. You mentioned from Bhagavad Gita also one of the chapter Shloki. What was that?
10:8.
10:8, right? Hamsarasya Prabhavo. I had not thought of that, but that also applies. Very nice. Um, so yes, I am appreciating your class. Very nice. You gave me lots to contemplate, lots to think about. So you have enhanced my Krishna consciousness and my ecstasy. Always well appreciated. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Haribol, thank you so much. Thank you for your kind encouragement. Thank you. I guess the curtain will open soon. I wanted to read something really quickly, just as because Tarka mentioned Vishwanath Chakravarti. And so Burjan Prabhu, in his, these quotes Srila Prabhupada, in his Toward His Smiling Face. That's the name of the book. I don't know if anyone of you seen this book. Toward His Smiling Face. And he mentions here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's enthusiasm appears to increase as he expands in his comment on text 49, which is the one we read, on the unequal fortune of the Pandavas. Not only does the Lord live in your house, but he is there. He gives you great bliss. He's a friend and acts as XX for your benefit. He's your cousin and is obedient to you because of that family relationship. He is your Atma and he thinks of you as his own body. He is worthy of your worship, yet he protects you by his mercy. He's your servant, but he places himself at your disposal as your chartiya. He's the original guru, but he serves you by offering good advice. He does not reside in the house of Prahlad or others and act as servant or guru. So that's so sweet because we're reading the pastime about Prahlad Maharaj, right? So Krishna, he doesn't act as Prahlad's servant or guru. In some ways, we could say maybe that's there, but specifically for the Pandavas, he lives in their house. I just thought that was just so sweet to read this morning. Yeah, and that's Burjan quoting from that Vishwanath Chakravarti.
That's That's very nice. Could you tell me a little bit more about that book?
Well, because yeah, this is Burjan Prabhu's. He does
Look
this,
at the thickness of that book. It's huge.
yeah, it's very big.
Wow.
Because he comments on all the acharyas and he comments mostly on Srila Prabhupada here. And he breaks it down in ways that for simple people like myself can understand. Like that one little paragraph gave me so much of a like expanded understanding of, oh, Krishna, you are so kind. Krishna, you are in this family, you make yourself available in all these ways. Just imagine Krishna. Yeah, it made me want to understand more about how Krishna is a friend.
That's wonderful. I've got to get my hands on that book.
See if I
Very
can
nice.
find it.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, dear devotees, does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share? Maybe some takeaways? I love the silence. I do a grief support group every week. And the thing about when people are going through, when they're grieving, they're mourning, silence is a blessing. Silence is like precious, so precious. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes mm, we might get a little antsy in silence.
Thank you so much for the class, Mother Rajalila. Just your
Thank you.
last point, I was thinking that devotees are always grieving the separation from Krishna and separation from other devotees. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yeah. We don't know that so much of the things we are experiencing that we label good or bad is because of our separation from Krishna. We're grieving from our separation from Krishna. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, JP.
Hare Krishna, good morning, Masterji Rajalila. Wow, thank you so much for your class. And I think what I loved the most was I was thinking about the verse when it says, when Krishna says that he will preserve what we have and carry what we lack. And I often think of it as lack, like you're lacking this or that. And then when you gave this class this morning, I'm thinking that sometimes we lack the structure of a teacher or the support of a brother or the love of a friend. And Krishna fills all of those needs and shows in the Pandavas, like you said, he was in their house, he was in their heart, he's a brother, he's a teacher, he's a charioteer, he's everything. And that he's willing to just love us in that way, to show up and just, I don't know, just unlock all the locks and open all the doors and let the sunshine in and just care for us in all the ways we need caring for. And I was thinking about just even as a mother for a child, that you love them so much that you do chastise them, and sometimes I see moms out and they're just sort of allowing their children to do whatever and just kind of letting them be, and it's like, no, you have to, in a loving but firm way, take them in hand, because that is loving them. And so even that, when it says he chastised Arjuna, it's like, this is a high form of love, to laugh and say, you've kind of forgotten yourself, but that's okay. I remember who you are, so it's just wonderful. So thank you for your class this morning. Hi, Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for, again, this encouragement is so important. When we give class, it's like We're going to talk about Krishna. We're going to talk about, whatever small realizations we may have had. When the devotees reciprocate and share their realizations from what may have come from the class, it's just so rewarding and so nourishing. So thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, Starka Prabhu.
Yeah, I failed to mention you you reminded us of how fortunate we are that we our acharyas have given us very confidential knowledge of Krishna. We know Krishna by name. We know his name. We know his many names. We know we know nicknames that his associates have given him. We know his address. We know so much detail about Krishna that is not known even to sometimes, very deeply religious people from other traditions. So we're very specially blessed. Um, Guru Prabhupada would sometimes tell us that that special blessing is causeless mercy. Um, but but it is the special mercy of our acharyas who have taken the time and trouble to make such knowledge available to us. And so, of course, it behooves us to also share what we've heard, what we've learned. We don't want to be miserly about it. We're very unusually fortunate. Um, and at least I can speak for myself. It's not because I have any qualification. It's just the causeless mercy of my spiritual master that I've had a chance to hear these things, and the mercy of so many devotees like yourself who um, narrate some Krishna Gita for me. Um, but we should always share what we receive. Um, it never diminishes. We can share endlessly, and our personal stock does not diminish. It actually increases by sharing. So never any loss, but always immense benefit. Thank you again for that important point that we are very specially blessed. We should be appreciative of that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Serving, always serving with love, right? How we serve, how can we develop, how can I develop more of that mood of being a servant that's serving with love? Like today, this is a big celebration today at the temple, and devotees are really just just extending themselves, expanding themselves in so many ways to serve with love. There's so many things, so many different things to do to make this festival just wonderful for all the devotees. And so there are only a few devotees that are trying to make this happen, trying to do their best, trying to serve their spiritual master. And so being a servant with love is just what Krishna himself, he exemplified that himself. He served the Pandava family. He served Arjuna with love. And so, yeah, as opposed to, when the Vrajavasis, when they saw that form, when they saw the Vaikunthas, which is like, awe and reverence, they weren't impressed. They didn't care. It's like, okay, yeah, he's worshipable and he's, like a king, whatever. He's great. He's wonderful. I just want that little, cowherd boy. That's who I want. I want to be back with that boy that does all kinds of mischief and does things that, yeah, that protects us, that saves us, that Arjuna, he's okay. You're gonna act as my servant. So beautiful, this whole mood of service. Thanks. I want to thank the devotees for today. I really appreciate that all of you that came together to offer service for Jagannath Baladev Lila Subhadra. Thank you. Thank you so much. Haribol. So I don't know what's happening, but I think I do have to go. Yeah, I have a group that I'm having this morning. So I don't know what the procedure is because I don't do class very often. So do I wait for the deeds to open? Usually on festival days, it's a little later. Or can I go? Or please give me some instruction.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, yes, thank you so much for giving us class and for being here with us. And yeah, certainly you have a group to do. We're just grateful that we had your time this way. Thank you for making yourself available, even knowing that you had that. Haribol.
I'm happy to be here. Whenever they call and ask me, I say, okay. Haribol, Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful